Let's talk about farmland irrigation. Irrigation obviously gets a lot of attention, not always, of course, good attention. It's desperately needed for growing all the food we consume, and yet we point fingers at farmers for using too much water for irrigation. So here, the ranking is at number 67, 1.33 gigatons in terms of reduced CO2. $216.2 billion in net cost for doing the actions suggested here, and savings of $429.7 billion if it is followed through by 2050. As with the system of rice intensification, drip irrigation was also discovered accidentally. It was invented by Simcha Blas of Israel. His inspiration occurred in the 1930s, way back when a farmer wanted to know why his biggest tree was growing without any water. Blas excavated ground around the roots and discovered a leaky pipe. It was not until the 1960s and the advent of cheap plastic pipes that his invention could be patented and commercialized. However, it may be that this single invention has saved more water than any other technology. So now drip irrigation is all the rage, even though there are some articles that show that incentivizing drip irrigation as a more efficient irrigation method without putting a limit on how much water can be used can actually lead to use of more overall total water, because people think they're being efficient, so they either expand the area being irrigated or they irrigate more, and so on. So just because it's more efficient compared to sprinklers doesn't mean it will save water unless there are overall limitations on the use of water. Let's put this in the context of global freshwater use over the long run. So this is freshwater withdrawals for agriculture, industry, and domestic use since the 1900s, measured in cubic meters per year. And you can see that we have steadily and exponentially gone up with a little bit of slowing of the increase here. So now we are at almost 400 trillion meter cubed in terms of total water withdrawals for all sectors over the globe. Freshwater use by aggregated by region from 1901 to 2010 shows again in cubic meters of water. OECD, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and rest of the world here. So obviously, BRICS are growing fast. Population growth, food demand, export of grains and fruits and vegetables have all led to increased water use as well. And agricultural water withdrawals in 2010, this is the total agricultural water withdrawal in meter cube per year. Agricultural water is defined as the annual quantity of self-supplied water withdrawal for irrigation, livestock, and aquaculture purposes. Again, meter cube per year. And you can see that rich countries withdraw a lot of water, and of course Canada and some of the European countries have more water than they use, like Switzerland, for example. But heavy agricultural countries like Brazil, Argentina, over here, India, Pakistan, China, and of course Australia, which is a dry continent, also uses a lot of water. When you look at the agriculture water as a share of total water withdrawals, there is missing data in many of the countries, but you can see that there is regions which are arid, semi-arid, reasonably wet, are all withdrawing quite a large percentage for agriculture compared to total water withdrawals. India doesn't show up here, but if you look specifically in terms of agricultural land which is irrigated as of 2015, then India is over 60% of irrigated land and is likely the highest here, except for this small country, which should be maybe Jordan or Syria or one of these countries. Where am I? No, that's whatever. Okay. So water requirement per ton of food product, we considered the environmental impacts in many ways, but looking at water requirements, you can do this for proteins, carbohydrates as well. But beef stands out as an incredibly water intensive food product, and it's obviously also very environmental footprint intensive in many ways, in terms of the land degradation, grazing, amount of calories consumed per calorie of food produced, and so on. Some of the nuts are water intensive, sheep, goat, and so on, cereals, milk, fruits, all the way down. So chicken is up here, so all the meat is up here, and all the other plant-based products are down here. Okay. For India, sector-wise projected water demand from 2013, you can see the numbers for 2020, 2010, 2025 projections and 2050 projections with high and low scenarios. So irrigation is obviously order of magnitude larger than everybody else for drinking water, industry, energy, and other uses. So obviously irrigation, you can see this map as well from this paper here. Agriculture here comes out at 89%, with municipality being the next at just 8%, and industry is not that heavy, but with beverage industry growing quite fast, there are issues there as well, but maybe that gets counted in food products. But nonetheless, the distribution of water, virtual water trading, so bottling beverages, exporting them, or exporting within the country from a water deficit region to water surplus region, so-called virtual water export, where you are exporting grains which use a lot of water to grow, and so on, are all concerns. So in terms of overall impacts, at present the use of sprinkler and drip irrigation varies widely around the world, from 42% of area in high income countries to 6% in low income countries in Asia and Africa. Drip irrigation is supposed to work at an efficiency of 80-90%, whereas sprinkler can be 70% or much lower, depending on how it is done. Large scale dinosaur type sprinklers that just spray water during the day lose upwards of 80% of water to evaporation. Okay. Our analysis assumes the area under improved irrigation grows from 133 million acres in 2020 to 448 million acres in 2050. The highest adoption increases will occur in Asia, where 62% of total irrigated area is located, and currently only 4% of that land is under micro irrigation. This growth could avoid 1.3 gigatons of carbon dioxide emissions and save 90 billion gallons of water. And you can look at many maps of projected water stresses, either physical access, economic access, or water quality. So it's always about quantity, quality, and access. Then you can save $430 billion by 2050 if the micro irrigation and other efficient methods continue to grow. So irrigation is a big gorilla in the room as well, and its issues are complicated. There are always discussions of international water sharing and potential for water wars and conflicts, and within countries like India, different states fight for water, and it's always strongly lobbied by farmers who are always in demand of water. And there are also nexus issues like water use for energy and energy subsidies for pumping water for irrigation and water use for irrigation. Of course, we are all in it because we all consume the products that farmers are producing, so we cannot always blame just the farmers.